Deep beneath the surface of the Mediterranean Sea lurks a formidable threat, a massive underwater volcano larger than Vesuvius. If Marsili were to erupt, it could trigger a devastating tsunami that would devastate the Italian coast. Today we'll take a look at what this means and how great the danger is, so be sure to stay tuned until the end. Welcome everyone. Who doesn't love the Italian coast, sun, beach, and la dolce vita? Write to me and tell me which region of Italy you visited and which one you liked best. I'm always looking for new travel tips. The Italian volcanoes Stromboli, Etna, Vesuvius, and of course Campi Flegrei are world famous. If you've never heard of the Marsili volcano, it's no wonder. This giant was only discovered about 100 years ago and is located far away from the Italian mainland in the southern Tyrrhenian Sea, about 140 kilometers north of Sicily. Measuring 70 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide, Marsili is one of the largest volcanoes in Europe. It rises about 3,000 meters from the seafloor, and its peak is only about 500 meters below the water's surface.
And the Marsili is not a normal volcano. It belongs to a geological structure that scientists refer to as a back arc basin. Such basins form in subduction zones.
This is where one tectonic plate dives beneath another. Here, the Aeonian lithosphere, part of the African plate, subducts beneath the Calabrian microplate. Marsili is very young in geological terms, with its volcanic activity beginning less than 200,000 years ago. The most recent eruptions took place just 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. A study published in the journal Geoscience Frontiers used high-resolution bathymetry, a type of underwater topography, to examine the structure of Marsili in detail. Researchers Eugenio Nicotra, Salvatore Passaro, and Guido Ventura achieved a resolution of just 5 meters, which is roughly equivalent to being able to see individual cars on a road from an airplane, only on the seabed. What did the scientists discover? Marsili consists of several different volcanic structures. There are large central volcanoes in the northern and southern areas, while long volcanic fissures dominate the central area. These fissures are particularly interesting because they show how magma rises from the depths. The researchers write in their study, Marsili consists of volcanoes formed by fissures and centralized activity. The latter are located at the northern and southern tips of the main fissures. A finding in the northern region is particularly worrying. There, researchers have discovered a caldera, which is formed when a magma chamber beneath a volcano collapses. This suggests that Marsili has experienced explosive eruptions in the past. The former president of the Italian Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, Enzo Boschi, explained back in 2010, "Our latest research shows that the volcano is structurally unstable. Its walls are fragile and the magma chamber is considerable in size. All this tells us that the volcano is active and could erupt at any time."
Wait a minute, isn't Marsili about 500 meters underwater? Would an eruption at that depth even be noticeable at the surface? The answer is, it depends.
Scientists assume that a purely volcanic eruption at this depth could be relatively harmless. The massive water column would dampen the energy of the eruption. On the surface, one would mainly observe gas bubbles and rising volcanic materials such as pumice stones. Spectacular, but not catastrophic. The real danger lies elsewhere, in massive underwater landslides. In their current study, the researchers have found that large areas of the Marsili flank consist of unstable material. Hydrothermal processes circulating through the rock weaken it and make it porous. A study from 2021 simulated various tsunami scenarios and found that, in the worst case, a landslide could set about 17 cubic kilometers of material in motion. Such a mass would displace enormous amounts of water when it crashed down and trigger a tsunami. The calculations show that in the most extreme scenario, the coasts of Campania, Basilicata, and Calabria could be hit by waves 5 to 20 meters high within 20 to 30 minutes. Sicily and Sardinia would also be affected, but with lower wave heights. The Aeolian Islands would form a kind of natural barrier and partially absorb the energy of the tsunami, but this would of course not be good for the inhabitants. Despite the Aeolian Islands acting as a protective shield, waves 5 to 10 meters high could still reach the Sicilian coast. However, and this is important, this scenario is relatively unlikely. The study has calculated several scenarios, and in most cases the effects would be significantly less severe. In some scenarios, wave heights of only a few centimeters would occur. The researchers also emphasize an exciting aspect in their work. Although Marsili is tectonically one of the slowly spreading ridges, the Tyrrhenian Sea is only opening at a rate of 1.8 centimeters per year. Its morphology is similar to that of rapidly spreading mid-ocean ridges.
Hey guys, quick request. YouTube is currently being flooded with hastily thrown together AI content, so-called AI slop. This isn't meant as general AI bashing, but it does make it harder for human creators to stay visible. This video here is not AI slop. It was researched, written, and produced by hand by several people who make their living from this. An editor, a video editor, a marketer, and myself. If content like this matters to you, your subscription helps us tremendously. Every subscription to the channel ensures that we can continue to put time and energy into real, carefully crafted videos. Thank you so much, everyone. And now, let's continue.
The scientists write, regardless of the spatial scale, the increase in the accretion rate of the ridge is due to the progressive addition of a subduction-related component to a pure spreading mantle source. In other words, Marsili is growing faster than expected because, in addition to normal volcanic processes, material from the subducting Ionian plate is also contributing to magma formation. This makes it particularly active and potentially dangerous. The biggest problem is that we know too little. Marsili is not currently under continuous monitoring. There are no seismic sensors on the seafloor, no direct measurements of hydrothermal activity, and no real-time monitoring of possible changes. Enzo Boschi already demanded in 2010, what we need is a continuous monitoring system to ensure reliability.
But more than a decade later, such a system still hasn't been established. That's astonishing when you consider that millions of people live near the coast who would be affected in an emergency. It's a bit of an out-of-sight, out-of-mind situation because unlike Vesuvius, Etna, Stromboli, and Volcano, the Marsili isn't clearly visible on the surface, so it's apparently not perceived as a real danger.
The good news is that the probability of a major disaster is actually low. Marsili is active, but geological processes usually proceed very slowly. A sudden disaster without warning is unlikely. Volcanic activity is usually preceded by warning signs, increased seismic activity, changes in water temperature, increased gas emissions. But in order to detect such warning signs early enough, monitoring the volcano would of course be useful. It is also interesting to note that a geothermal energy project was even planned in the Marsili area in 2015. The Marsili 1 project was to carry out a geothermal exploration drilling. This is debatable, as it would involve drilling into a potentially unstable volcano. In any case, the latest research findings show us one thing. Marsili is a fascinating geological phenomenon, but also a potential threat that should be taken seriously. The combination of its size, its location around densely populated coasts, and its proven instability makes it a volcano that we should definitely keep an eye on. Marsili is not the only underwater volcano in the Tyrrhenian Sea. There are also Vavilov, Magniagi, and Palinuro, all of which are potentially active. Geologically, the Tyrrhenian Sea is one of the most dynamic regions in the Mediterranean, and we are only just beginning to understand the processes taking place there in the depths.
I will keep you updated on all further developments. So feel free to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to give a thumbs up so we can reach 5,000 likes. And speaking of new discoveries on the ocean floor,
my next video is about the Pacific Ring of Fire. This active volcanic and earthquake region is becoming more and more active, and researchers say we have never seen anything like it since measurements began. What is going on, and why is our planet becoming so tectonically active? We'll take a look at that in the video shown above on the right. Be sure to click on it, it's very exciting. As always, you'll find another video about science and space at the bottom right. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, folks.